Tonight, Donald Trump's pick for Secretary of State today grilled on Capitol Hill. But it wasn't only Democrats who turned up the heat. So how did Rex Tillerson do? The party panel will discuss. Plus, Donald Trump today holding his first press conference since his election. And boy, did he tear the media a new one. What got him all worked up? And Attorney General nominee Jeff Sessions back on the Hill for another day of testimony. But his views on personal liberty haven't gotten any better. Libertarian Field Marshal Ron Paul is here. All right, grab a fork. It's time to feast on freedom. Rex Tillerson slid into the line of fire today as the most high-profile nominee to face Senate ire. The potential future Secretary of State took plenty of shrapnel from senators who tried to tease out his views on Russia. And one scrappy Floridian packed a few little bombs as he tried to pin down Rex T.
Is Vladimir Putin a war criminal?
I would not use that term.
Rubio got high Marcos for that. While there may be stark differences between hawkish Cold Warriors and Tillerson's business-friendly peace through prosperity philosophy, that divide leaves too much room and too many questions when it comes to answering, what is our Russian policy? There were plenty of Democrats who tried to pin down sexy Rexy, who sought to simplify the complexity.
I just want to go back to Russia for a brief moment.
What are you going to say to Vladimir Putin when he says to you, but Rex, you said sanctions were bad?
As CEO of Exxon, you vocally opposed the Russian sanctions that have been put in place, which hamper Exxon's ability to drill there.
Drill, baby, drill. Being Secretary of State is about more than those damn dirty Russians. Didn't anyone have questions about the Middle East, China, or the real threat to our freedom, Canada?
They no longer cook on animal dung and wood cooking in their homes.
Some Canadians still do, Rex. And of course, no Trump administration confirmation area would be complete without screechy, pink-clad attention whores masquerading as patriots.
Senators, be brave, protect my community, protect America. Rex Tillerson, I reject you.
Tillerson wasn't the only game in town. A few of those protesters tried to sneak into the president-elect's press conference, but they were quickly shouted down.
Since you're attacking us, can you give us a question?
Go ahead.
No, Mr. President-elect.
Go ahead.
President-elect,
Go ahead.
since you are attacking our news organization, can you give us a chance?
Your organization
You are attacking our news organization.
Your organization.
Can you give us a chance to ask a question, sir?
Go ahead.
Sir, can you state,
Quiet.
Mr. President-elect,
go ahead.
Can you state
She's asking a question. Don't be rude.
Mr. President-elect, can you...
Oh, that was a reporter? Oh, right. It was Jim Acosta from CNN who tried to accosta the president-elect. As BuzzFeed and CNN published a suspect and uncorroborated intel report about the president-elect's supposed fancy Russian tinkle parties, Mr. Trump dismissed them entirely with an ironclad explanation.
Does anyone really believe that story? I'm also very much of a germaphobe, by the way. Believe me.
I believe you. Never mind massive factual inaccuracies or questionable sources. Anyone who's freaked out by shaking hands, let alone foreign fluids, isn't going to play Russian water sports with vodka-slurping Baltic skanks. It was a busy day for the incoming administration. Now, all that remains to be seen is how Sessions, Tillerson, and the rest of the nominees survive the missiles and mortar from all sides, especially their own. Baby, I'm always on your side. I'm Kennedy. It's time to bring in my four-wheel party panel. Oh, yes, there's three of them, but they're that good. Tonight it's Dega McDowell from the Fox Business Network Medal. Ellis Hennigan returns, a Democratic strategist and columnist. And Tom Shalhoub is here, host of Red Eye on the Fox News Channel. Welcome back, everyone. I want to talk about Sexy Rexy. How do you think Tillerson did on that all-important Russia question, which isn't going away?
I think he held his own because Marco Rubio is still trying to live down the little Marco moniker bestowed upon him by President-elect Donald Trump. And he held his own. He said, he's not going to get pinned into a corner. And he differed from Trump on a lot of issues. He is not opposed to the Trans-Pacific Partnership. That was one thing. He talked about climate change.
He does like free trade.
Yes, yeah, climate change. Yes, human activity does have some impact on the climate on Earth.
Yeah.
But I want to say, his voice and his Texas accent that he's hung on to so mightily over the years, it really helps him because even on the world stage, people are going to think, you know what, you're going to put that boot heel on my throat if I don't watch out. So I kind of like that.
All right, very good. I mean, there is something warm and welcoming about a Southern accent. Jacob.
Or threatening. It depends on
That's
the
true.
If it's women, it's like they think you're going to make them mac and cheese. If you're a dude
Or a
with
nice
a voice like
ambrosia.
that, they're going to stab you
to wash it down.
Stab you in the neck.
I know. I always feel hostility, and it's like it's always underneath the friendliness.
Bless your heart.
No.
No, Ellis, I want to ask you specifically about something that Dagan pointed out is, again, both of the nominees, the main nominees that we've seen thus far, Jeff Sessions and Rex Tillerson, they have differences of opinion with Donald Trump. Now, yesterday I spoke with Sean Spicer on Outnumbered, who said this is the Trump administration and their personal feelings don't matter. But what if they feel they're absolutely right? What kind of sway do you think they'll have over the president?
Well, I think it depends on the issue. I mean, honestly, I think Donald Trump has really, really, really strong opinions about maybe 3 or 4 things.
Yeah, free trade being one of them.
Free trade, a wall, Muslims, you know, a couple of things he really cares about. And boy, I wouldn't want to be the secretary under him when he decided he wanted to press ahead with that.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to say this in my best Louisiana accent, so we'll set the bar really low. And, but I think on the vast majority of things, I don't think he has any opinion. So it would be a great job to be a secretary of that administration.
Okay, so you can pretty much convince him. Now let's talk about Rex's performance. Did you think anything tripped him up today?
You know, I thought Marco, what you heard is not being boxed in. I heard is ducking, bobbing, and weaving. I mean, I think he's got a problem. And Marco Rubio came on really strong. The panel is 11-10, so if one Republican flips, they're going to have to find another way to make him Secretary of State. Interesting.
All right, so Tom, did Rubio get the best of him? We haven't seen a lot, profile-wise, rather, from Rubio since the presidential election. He retook his Senate seat in Florida, but now he inserted himself, I think, to great effect.
Well, he would have gotten the best of him if Tillerson was a politician, which he isn't. He's a CEO, and then he's going to be as Secretary of State. So you don't need to be a politician. He doesn't need to score any points. He was boring, because that's what CEOs are, boring. They're great at answering questions without saying a lot, at being very safe. That's what you need in a Secretary of State.
So it's better to be completely unmemorable on a day like today.
Absolutely. That's what you do in these hearings. You don't want anyone to remember anything you said at all, which I've already forgotten.
Yeah, and
it's fantastic.
It's interesting because yesterday, as we saw Jeff Sessions go on and on the Hill, it seemed as though being a senator certainly helped him, because he had a lot of his colleagues say to him, you know, don't you remember we had this piece of legislation? And Sessions would say, actually, we have this other piece of legislation. And it seemed as though his career politicking was his greatest aid.
Yes. In fact, even Cory Booker, who's, you know, anti-Sessions, you know, you can look back and Cory Booker was saying, oh, he's the greatest guy in the world just a couple of years ago. So,
yeah, exactly.
At all times, they've had good relations. They're a very genial bunch.
Yeah, I don't think Cory Booker had the greatest impact today, but we'll talk about that.
I like the senator who called Putin Valdemir, which was like Voldemort. That was my favorite moment.
That's Russian dyslexia.
Valdemir, the dictator's name we won't speak of. All right, Donald Trump blew his lid today during his first press conference since the election when reporters asked him about an unconfirmed report that Russia has a smoking pile of blackmail to use against him. Yesterday, John McCain acknowledged that he gave a dossier to FBI Director James Comey detailing that unverified Russian plot to use financial dealings and reports of perversion against the president-elect. Here's Trump's response.
I think it was disgraceful that the intelligence agencies allowed any information that turned out to be so false and fake out. I think it's a disgrace. And I say that, and that's something that Nazi Germany would have done and did do. I think it's a disgrace.
All right, as you may have noticed, Trump has made quite a pivot on fake news. For instance, in the past, he claimed that President Obama was born in Kenya and that New Jersey Muslims celebrated 9/11, and implied that Ted Cruz's father assisted Lee Harvey Oswald in killing JFK. And now he violates Godwin's law by comparing the intel community to the Nazis. So how do you think he did in his first post-election press conference?
I mean, I appreciate the context, by the way. I'm still trying to get my head around Tinkle Party. I'm not quite sure what that involves.
Well, we'll get to it after the show,
You'll explain as the hour goes on.
Sure, participatory.
But listen, a denial from Donald Trump is not the same as a denial from most people, right?
Yeah.
Because he denies a whole bunch of stuff we know is true. I mean, you've named a few good ones. I go back to the making fun of the reporter, and I had no idea. So listen,
all right, slow down, Meryl Streep.
All right, I don't think we know. I mean, I don't know whether that stuff is true or not, but it doesn't convince me one way or the other to hear Donald say it isn't.
All right, but you would be predisposed to doubting what he had to say. So the fact that you are not full-throatedly saying he's guilty of all these things, this questionable report.
I'm a Trump skeptic. I think that's fair to say.
No, that's absolutely fair to say. Do you think his tone is any different now in his press conferences than the one he had on the campaign?
It's the only tone I've ever heard.
Well, that's it. He's always back and forth. He started off by praising the press. You people haven't been nice to me in the past, but most of you are nice to me, except those two people right there.
He was basically saying the ones who didn't publish this, I have a better opinion of you now.
Yes, and the thing is, I think what Trump should say is, nobody can blackmail me. Did you guys see what I said on that bus? I mean, I can do anything. Nothing shocks anyone anymore. He's completely immune to blackmail.
He literally walked out to Fifth Avenue and shot someone.
I watched that and thought, 4 years, awesome. This is going to be so hella cool.
Yeah, but you know what?
The next 4 years. Because, again,
it reminded me of Donald Rumsfeld early in the war.
This guy is fearless, though.
Yeah.
He is absolutely fearless. He walked out there, and it's a little, you know what? His Twitter feed seems like elevated discourse when you actually see him go after these people. He might as well just read from the Twitter
press
feed.
also knows how to get him going, and he's not afraid to push back. It takes most presidents years to get to that point in their administration when they will actually push back.
But he knows, though, that the press loves being sucked up too, and that's exactly what he did. He's like, I don't like you guys, but we
got to move on. Last word, Ellis.
Don't wait 6 months for another one.
No, he won't wait.
Let's do it. Come on. What are you guys doing tomorrow?
I'm glad you asked.
You know,
we're going to the Ritz-Carlton in Moscow.
Beating up on people.
President Obama last night gave his farewell address to a teary nation in a succinct, short, and very sweet hour-long speech.
If you're tired of arguing with strangers on the internet, try talking with one of them in real life.
Oh, there was so much in that speech. Is there anything he could have left out? Maybe about his legacy? Well, let's ask my next guest, Washington Examiner senior political columnist. It's Tim Carney. You've written about this, Tim Carney. I was comparing the speech all night long to Ronald Reagan's farewell speech in 1989, which if you go back and read it, and I did, I read it over and over again. In fact, I'll read you a passage from it right now. I loved it so much. When he talks about, I wasn't a great communicator, but I communicated great things, and they didn't spring full bloom from my brow. They came from the heart of a great nation, from our experience, our wisdom, and our belief in the principles that have guided us for 2 centuries. That's how you give a farewell speech. How do you think President Obama did?
Obama gave a rally, which was a very weird thing to do, because some parts of the speech were kind of saying, oh, we've disagreed at times, but we all have to come together as a nation. That doesn't work with a rally before your liberal base, and that's what it turned out to be. And it was an hour long. It highlighted, for me, the fact that what he preached in the beginning, he didn't practice. Every time he said, we need to get along with people who disagree with us, I thought about all the people he said, oh, well, you're a shill for industry if you disagree with me on Obamacare, or we're going to, make you provide birth control even though you're nuns in a small order.
The only reason Republicans are winning is because they play Fox News in every bar. I really appreciated the part where he talked to his wife and daughter. I thought that was really poignant and beautiful, because you can say whatever you want about his policies, and a majority of Americans don't agree with the direction the country is going in, in large part because of his policies, but you can't fault the guy for being a good father and a good husband, and he clearly loves his family, and I thought that was lovely.
No, I agree. In fact, personally, I look at Obama sometimes as a role model in that he's effusive publicly about his wife. So let me just say right now, Katie, you're the best wife in the world, even better than Michelle Obama. He really is a role model as a dad, as a husband. I agree.
All right, but it was a big commie fest, and I think what he did here, and I'd love to hear what you have to say about this, is one, he's got Trump envy, and he saw the thank you tour that President-elect Trump went on and went to all the places that elected him with great adoration, and the other is it's kind of a wiener-neener against Hillary Clinton because she didn't take her moment in the sun or the moonlight on election night to go out and thank all the people who supported her and give that important concession speech. So I think it was sort of lapping up and modeling himself after what Trump has done and also saying to Hillary, like, baby, this is how you do it.
Well, certainly Hillary for an hour would have been far more excruciating than Barack Obama for an hour. I think everybody can agree on that. But a lot of it was kind of, here's how you will live in the Trump America, where he said, oh, we have to guard against the hatred, we have to guard against that. But he did try to say, hey, and maybe the working class white guy who's a conservative living in Pennsylvania, maybe you should try to have some sympathy for him, which is a direct rebuke to a lot of
middle class white guys.
But
such a
there are liberal journalists out there. Jamel Bowie at Slate wrote, "There's no such thing as a good Trump voter." That is a widespread view on the left. So Obama was actually trying to walk them back and say there might be some good Trump voters. So that, I mean, that makes him a squish,
you want to win the
I guess.
presidency again, you better figure out how to talk to the disenfranchised, no matter where they're from or what they look like. You're absolutely right. Tim Carney, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Great summation of the speech. Coming up, is Jeff Sessions really a constitutional conservative, or is he looking to limit our liberty? Dr. Ron Paul weighs in. Plus, intelligence officials say Russians hacked the Democrat server and the Republicans in the lead up to the election. I'm going to talk to Brian Suits about the Ruskies and what they haven't played yet. Is there more to come? We'll stay here and find out. Storm clouds are brewing over one of the nation's newest, most dynamic, profitable, and medically helpful industries. You know what I'm talking about, medical and recreational marijuana. Leading the charge against it could be Alabama Republican Senator Jeff Sessions. That is, of course, President-elect Trump's pick for Attorney General. And during his confirmation hearings, Sessions seemed to think that toothpaste could be put back in the tube, even though pot is legal in one form or another in more than half the country.
Would you use our federal resources to investigate and prosecute sick people who are using marijuana in accordance with their state laws, even though it might violate federal law?
I won't commit to never enforcing federal law, Senator Leahy, but absolutely it's a problem of resources for the federal government.
You even mandated the death penalty for anyone convicted of a second drug trafficking offense, including marijuana, even though mandatory death penalties are, of course, unconstitutional.
Well, I'm not sure under what circumstances I said that, but I don't think that sounds like something I would normally say.
No, well, that's a relief. No death penalty. Those answers were slickered in a tub of warm Vaseline. As you know, the Obama administration has mostly let this be a states' rights issue, mostly. But will those days soon be over? Joining me now, it's Dr. Ron Paul, host of the Ron Paul Liberty Report, as well as a former congressman and presidential candidate. Welcome back, Dr. Paul.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
So let's talk about this a little bit. You know, I made the assertion yesterday that I fear that an Attorney General, Jefferson Sessions, would in fact spark up the drug war, which has cost this country billions of dollars and millions of lives. Were his answers satisfactory to you?
Heavens no. I think it would be a terrible setback. I have claimed over the many years that eventually the country would wake up and get rid of prohibition like we did with alcohol. And we've been moving in that direction. And the states have done a wonderful thing in nullifying federal control, which I thought was another technical thing that was working very well. But I think it could be reversed with the next administration. It'd be very, very bad. It's bad law enforcement. The penalties that are given to people people that can go to prison for life. So three charges and no violent crime, and they're in prison for life. It's total insanity. So this is a major step backwards if they would become more aggressive on the war on drugs. Besides, you know, in one place, Sessions argues that on some laws, it's the states' rights, and let's leave them alone, you know, on gun laws or something else. But on marijuana, no, it's the federal government's responsibility to go in and do it. It's inconsistent, it's unnecessary, it's un-American, it's against the principles of liberty and free choices.
Yeah, and he acts as though it's really a legislative decision, and Congress can amend the federal law, therefore making it federally legal as it is in a majority of states. But the truth is he has a great deal of power concentrated in that office. How else are you worried that someone like Jeff Sessions, who by all accounts is a likable person, and he is certainly esteemed by his colleagues in the Senate, but there are areas open for abuse at the highest level, including civil asset forfeiture. Does that worry you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And his position on the Patriot Act is horrible, too. So he's not a very good civil libertarian, so he wouldn't qualify as a good civil libertarian. But as you point out, he's not a mean guy, and he believes he's a constitutionalist. But I think he gets confused on this. So often people use the Constitution when it defends their prerogatives, but not at other times. And I think that he'd be a great danger for the setback of civil liberty, but not for all the reasons they're chanting about in Washington. I mean, most of this thing is all about racism that doesn't exist. That's so unfair.
I'm glad you brought that up because
nasty.
Today, in regards to Sessions, of course, Cedric Richmond, who is a Democratic representative from Louisiana, testified along with Cory Booker, Senator Cory Booker, and Congressman John Lewis. And here is Representative Richmond in his own words about race at the Sessions nomination hearing.
To have a senator, a House member, and a living civil rights legend testify at the end of all of this is the equivalent of being made to go to the back of the bus.
Come on, man. Is everything about race? Seriously, like John Lewis had some very poignant thoughts on growing up in Alabama. Cory Booker did some political grandstanding. And, you know, I would say you don't have the final act of Phantom of the Opera at the beginning of the show. Am I wrong here, Dr. Paul?
No, you're right on this, and you know, we do have a black president, and he was elected by a lot of white people. For people to try to go back into the dark ages and resuscitate some of this racist stuff is just really, really disgusting. I have come to the conclusion these last several years, decade or so, that the people who shout the loudest about racism are most racist themselves. There's still those problems out there, but put it in context of what we're doing, and put it in context of civil liberties. And liberties shouldn't be designed, we should never talk about groups, minority rights, black rights, any of these things. We should talk about individual rights and dealing with in these terms. Then you could get to the point, why is it that the blacks aren't treated as fairly, you know, with enforcement of drug laws as white people that have the money to defend themselves? That is a civil liberty issue.
Yes,
but this
that's
whole
right.
thing
And that's
about the
where
back
libertarians
of the bus
have done the best job leading that conversation. And you, of course, have spearheaded much of that. Thank you very much, Dr. Paul. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Coming up, Obamacare is about to meet its end in a fiery thud. So will Republicans replace it with something just as bad, or really free marketing? The Wall Street Journal's Glenn Hall joins me to discuss what your healthcare options are going to look like. That's next. Hey there, and welcome back. Obamacare, it must be replaced, quote, very quickly. Who said that? I'll let you guess. And any congressional lollygagging will be unacceptable. It was President-elect Trump when asked how long Republicans plan to take to install their own plan. Now, once they repeal Obamacare, well, it's easier said than done, a sentiment echoed by President Obama himself in his farewell address last night.
I've said, and I mean it, if anyone can put together a plan that is demonstrably better than the improvements we've made to our healthcare system, that covers as many people at less cost, I will publicly support it.
If you go to my aunt's house and she gives you Band-Aids and mouthwash, That would be better than Obamacare. Today, Trump said that he will repeal and replace Obamacare simultaneously, but offered very few specifics on how it would be done. So how is this going to work? Glenn Hall joins me. He's the U.S. news editor at the Wall Street Journal. Glenn, it's not a lack of plans, and there are a lot of people who like to say the Republicans don't have any plans. They've got so many plans. How on earth are they going to narrow them down?
That is really the problem, right? There's a lot of different ways you can provide health care and a lot of different ways you can pay for that. And all those plans are out there, but nobody agrees on any one. And how they all fit together in some omnibus plan, that's even harder to come up with, right?
And they're talking about the budget reconciliation process, which would take anything that has to do with federal spending or taxes within Obamacare and start pulling layers of the onion away in that sense. However, that doesn't get to things like pre-existing conditions and the individual mandate and other parts that are very tumultuous.
Yeah, so reconciliation touches only on the budget side, the taxes and the spending, right? So that guts the plan, takes the money away from it, so you strangle it a little bit, but that doesn't fix the problem. It doesn't replace. So that's the repeal part, but not the replace part. The reason they like that plan is because reconciliation doesn't allow for a filibuster, so they can get a simple majority and get it passed.
You know what it's like? It's like going in for a liver operation. You take the old bad liver out. It's like, well, you don't have bad liver anymore. That's the good news. But they got to procure the fresh one and put that inside of you before you can live again.
Yeah, and they don't have a plan for that transplant, right? That is exactly right. There's a transplant in an operation here, but no plan to bring it back. And Donald Trump has aligned with Rand Paul, and now even Speaker Paul Ryan has said, no, we can't repeal and then replace later. People call that repeal and delay. But instead, it has to be repealed and replaced almost simultaneously. And so they got to figure out
transplant surgery.
It only works that way in transplants, right? You can't just take it out.
No, it's absolutely true. And so much of our economy is dependent on healthcare. This is a $3 trillion industry. And you can't strangle the insurance companies. You can't leave people without coverage. You know, my question is, so many people on Obamacare, on the exchanges, are actually on Medicaid. Does Medicaid continue to function even if the plan is delayed or there's some temporary stall?
Well, this is where it gets messy. And as you point out, it's all so interwoven, right, between how the care is delivered and how it's governed. So Medicaid, for example, is a big part of it. Expansion of Medicaid provided coverage to a lot of people in those lower to lower incomes. And it was many Republican legislators and governors as well as Democratic legislators and governors who actually pushed it forward in their states. So now by law, they have to provide that expansion. They rely on federal funding to help make that possible. So if you start to cut off the funding, the states are still on the hook for providing the care. So they're not going to be thrilled about that. Even the Republicans who may like the idea of a replacement need a replacement that doesn't leave them on the hook there for unfunded mandates.
Yeah, no, so many states are having trouble as it is, teetering on the verge of bankruptcy in places like California and Illinois. And, you know, I guess we'll see what happens. I hope, beyond optimism, that the free market prevails here, that people get less expensive health insurance coverage, and they actually get better care. I don't know if that'll ever happen. And like you said during the break, no one's ever going to agree on all of the parts that have to replace this ailing healthcare law. All right, Glenn Hall, thanks so much.
Thanks.
Good to see you. Coming up, Elon Musk has a plan to beat killer robots in the future. Join them. The Party Panel returns to talk about your cyborgness. That's coming up. The 90s, I miss shoegazers. Speaking of gazing at ourselves, Tesla and SpaceX CEO Elon Musk is apparently really worried about super smart robots killing or enslaving mankind. So he has now come up with a very novel solution. Join them, according to Musk, if we become cyborgs with both robotic components and regular fleshy bits, evil dictator machines won't be able to push us around. And I like his thinking. Welcome back to my party panel. It's Stegan McDowell, Ellis Hennigan, and Tom Shillue. Tom, I will start with you because Musk is essentially saying we should swap out our parts, take the metal bits, we'll still have our biology, and then we can upload our consciousness onto some sort of a grid and access Google without any sort of keypad. How are you preparing for the robot uprising?
Listen, it's no surprise Elon Musk it comes out with this now. This is a little misdirection. He's already done it. Don't pretend you're not half Android, Elon Musk. Have you looked at that guy?
Yeah.
He is clearly, just look at a picture of him from 20 years ago. He's already gone half and half.
All right.
And when he closed out about
billionaire.
Danger, Will Robinson, the end of that, you could tell there was something up there. Crush, kill, destroy. Did you hear the ending?
Every woman in Los Angeles, in the greater Los Angeles area over the age of 32, looks exactly the same way.
Oh, yeah, no, it's so true. Yeah, no, we call them 1776. They got a 17-year-old body and then they turn around and like...
yeah, but you should have seen them before. I mean, it's not necessarily...
Yeah, before electricity.
I mean,
so, Ellis, let me ask you, other than sex robots, what is the best part about melding our humanity with technology?
I just want to make sure we get the body parts right. I mean, I want flat steel abs, right?
Ellis, stop being so modest. We know you've got them.
I'm working hard.
He flexes in the green room before the show.
Yeah, he walks around shirtless.
But you know it's
challenging people to pose offs.
Well, what we do, I mean, it's just fun. But it's going to be backwards, right? We're going to get all the wrong things. Instead of hands, I'm going to have a mouse or something. It's all
but that's not necessarily the wrong thing. You could use the mouse in the garden. Just, like you attach some roto-rooter blades and you clean out your sewer line.
I just want to be Maeve in Westworld, the Tandy Newton character.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
Wow.
I could look at her all day on freeze frame. I want to add something. Why are we listening to Elon Musk? His rockets are still blowing up on launch.
Well, but they're far less expensive than government rockets. There's something to be said for that. We're saving money. We can't afford not to have those things fall out of the sky.
Boom, boom. They're not even in the sky. We're not quite there yet.
This is your fear of heights we're back to, right?
No. I just think we're listening to somebody who,
He's smart. It's confusing.
Come on, the cars are cool.
He wants us to be the AI. He says we can meld with him as long as we are the AI.
Yes.
I don't know what does he mean by that,
That's
Kennedy?
the key, because if we keep our consciousness to ourselves and we maintain our biology, we will become their servants and slaves.
So like Steve Austin.
That's not good.
Steve Austin, a bionic body.
$6 million
man mind.
That's going to be a bargain in the future.
That's right. We may not have a lot of intelligence, but it's all real. I want to point that out.
Oh, Ellis, that is so beautiful said. What a fine note to end on. Tom, Ellis, and Dagan. A glorious panel. Just for you. Coming up, the FBI says Russia hacked into Republican servers during the election and saw lots of elephant porn, just like they did with the Democrats. But if they have, they're apparently still sitting on the info. Brian Suits joins me to say why he thinks the Russians still have a card up their sleeve. President-elect Donald Trump today claimed that Russia managed to hack the heck out of the DNC and steal info that ultimately damaged the Clinton campaign. But Trump then claimed the RNC had such strong cyber defenses that hackers simply could not break in. Well, tell that to FBI Director James Comey, who yesterday told the Senate Intelligence Committee that the Ruskies did indeed break into Republican computers. But Comey added that the stolen RNC info was apparently old and it was never released, unlike what happened with the DNC. Here now, it's Brian Suits, host of The Dark Secret Place on KFI AM 640. That's a radio station in lovely Los Angeles, California. He's a veteran of 3 military conflicts in Kuwait, Bosnia, and Iraq. Suits in a suit. Welcome back, you dapper devil.
It's a new 2017, Kennedy.
It really is. So let's talk about this a little bit, because there are some very serious allegations going back and forth that Donald Trump has had ties to Russia for years. Is this the intel community screwing with him before he ascends to office, or is there something more nefarious at work?
Well, BuzzFeed did a tremendous disservice to the president intelligence community relationship. What they released was so horribly badly sourced and uncorroborated, and Trump blames the intelligence community, not BuzzFeed. Well, he blames BuzzFeed also, but he thinks that the IC are the ones that somehow handed it to them. And in reality, in that report last week, there was a 2-page appendix that they probably didn't brief to Trump. That's why I believe him when he says he'd never heard this. They probably said, for examples of disinformation, go to Appendix Bravo. And he never did. Okay, but the notion that the GOP wasn't hacked is a bit naive. And in this day and age, you must assume you were hacked. Otherwise, you're going to be badly surprised. You must assume the worst anytime you send an email at .gop or whatever their email address is. Yeah. But the chasm that's created now clearly this morning with that press conference, which I DVR'd, I'm keeping it forever. The clear mistrust between the president and the intelligence community is very disturbing, and that's on BuzzFeed. A president can mistrust the National Park Service. Yeah. 20 bucks for Mount Rushmore. Are you serious? That's fine. We'll live. But a president who doesn't trust his own intelligence community, that's putting all of us at risk, and that's on BuzzFeed.
I guess what I find most disconcerting is Chuck Schumer was taunting the president-elect, saying, you don't disparage the intelligence community because they have 6 ways to Sunday of getting back at you. Which, does that mean that part of our government is just a bunch of bullies seeking retribution? Because that also kind of sucks. That's a really bad scenario.
It is, but it's a bureaucracy, and the best analogy that I can make is the relationship between Mayor Bill de Blasio of New York and his police. He made his career bad-mouthing police, and one day he's in charge, and he has to enforce the laws of New York, and he finds out that the NYPD as an institution has contempt for him, sometimes wide open, sometimes under the surface. It's the same with the president who throws the intelligence community under the bus with the Pentagon or the USDA or whatever. Bureaucracies have a way of biting back. They bit back at Clinton when he said, sorry for bombing the Chinese embassy, we had bad maps.
Is this what we're seeing with this report ending up on BuzzFeed and CNN? Is this the intel community biting back? No, because the CNN report specifically was about what was in the ODNI's, the appendix in that report. Yeah. BuzzFeed ran with something that was absolutely uncorroboratable. But I think that the intelligence community now will bite back, now that it's pretty clear that Trump blames them for stuff that they probably never leaked. Brian Suits, have a wonderful evening. You're a lamb of God. Thank you. Innocent. Coming up, why are surveillance drones becoming popular hair decorations throughout the Midwest? Find out in the topical storm. That's next. When your ski lodge gets bulldozed by an angry avalanche, as it were, come to me, and I will kill that avalanche with a flamethrower. A flamethrower of news. This is the topical storm. Climb inside my igloo. Topic number 1. The gods of internet popularity are fickle mistresses indeed. Businesses spend thousands of dollars trying to make a video go viral, and nothing happens. Meanwhile, a guy in Australia posted a clip of his road building business, and the internet went crazy. Oh, wow, look at that. Whoosh, like he's unrolling an asphalt carpet, so smooth, so straight, so wonderful. And the gravel, there's the gravel, perfectly aligned. Ah, this is like road building pornography. The video has over 14 million views, and I want in on it. That's why I've sent my junior assistant associate sub-producer, Paul, to the road behind my house. Check it out. It's not paved yet, but we got motorcyclists. There's one. Sorry, motorcyclist. Damn you, Paul. Damn you. Topic number 2. Aren't paparazzi the worst? You're trying to mind your own business, and then all of a sudden one of them jumps on you from a helicopter trying to snap a pic of Rihanna or some other celeb. Well, here's one celeb who just wouldn't take the heat anymore.
Hello? What you doing? Hi, do you see yourself? Oh!
Oh! Praying mantises are so creepy. Oh, God, that was satisfying. I will never forget the time I saw one in my backyard. Yep, there it is. There's a little praying mantis. And there's my neighbor. Oh, what a big, scary insect. This is awful. Terrifying. But I'll tell you what. Took me over an hour to beat that thing to death with my shoe. For burying it in the old quarry behind my house. That took a long time. A lot more than an hour. Got these guns from it, though. Love you. Topic number 3. What you're about to see is real. I think. I don't know. Watch pro snowboarder Martin Agerstig attempt a backflip over a moving station wagon, obviously on its way to get groceries and pick up the kids from soccer. Watch this. Holy cold dog crap. What a perfect grasp of physics, motion, and momentum that young shredder has. Egerstig able to use the angle of the car's hood as a natural transition while also using the opposing force and speed of the vehicle to build his own. And of course, it all could have gone horribly wrong, like this. He's a skier. That's right. Agerstig, or whatever his name is, could have crushed his Swedish meatballs. Thank God he's okay. And so were his meatballs. They're IKEA approved. Topic number 4. Drones can be a lot of fun, but remember to land them on something that isn't your spouse. Guys, otherwise this could happen.
Baby.
Babe, get it?
What happened?
It's your stupid fault. Can you stop?
Kinsley's pressing the button in the other room.
Oh, wouldn't it be convenient if a drone came with hair cutting tools so that it could never get tangled in your long, beautiful hair? My provisional underproducer Paul says that he's not only fixed our team's drone, he's also upgraded it to remove hair. Paul? Okay, there's Paul. Okay, Paul. Oh, Paul, the drone seems far away. No, Paul! What if those had been interns? That's not a haircut. That's homicide. But, I mean, to be completely fair, the guy's hair looks really good now. Good job, Paul. Topic number 5. If you're like me, you've had Bend It Like Beckham withdrawals for well over a decade. Oh, Keira Knightley, watch this lovely Londoner honor the beautiful game of soccer with some sick skills. Her name is Lisa Zamouche. Yeah, I like how that kid tried to nab her ball, but she's like, woot, 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 moo. She's got a lot of videos on her social media accounts doing just that. She put that kid to bed like a computer at nap time. Shut him down like Chinatown. Can you milk me, Greg? Thank you so much for watching the show tonight. I've enjoyed your eyeballs. You can always follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Kennedy Nation. Use hashtag Topical Storm while you're there if you've got a story to submit. On Facebook, it's Kennedy FBN. Email kennedyfbn@foxbusiness.com. Tomorrow on the show, it's Freedom Warlord Judge Andrew Napolitano, political sensei Dana Perino, and libertarian money magnet Brian Branberg. I'll see you then. Good night.